drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Fencer in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
Soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and welcome. It's that time of the week again. Yes, it's where three miserable, grumpy old men talk about the racing that's been at Royal Ascot this week. Joining me as always, John Lang and Chris Law Malvo. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
We certainly blown away by the amount of comments and questions we've had for this show today. So we're going to get straight on with it. And we're going to change our style a little bit to get all the questions in and talk what you want to talk about, which is obviously mostly to do with Royal Ascot this week. What you all thought of it, criticisms and praises, actually, some praises for certain things. I'm looking forward to getting through those. So first of all, John, this week I saw what I can only describe as, right, let's keep it simple, a decline in the breed.
I think so, yeah. I think this is the first year I've actually really noticed it. Yeah, there was plenty of instances of it, such as a declining standard in like the Teddy 7, which back in the day it was called the Ascot Derby, wasn't it? You often got a horse would end up at like a latecomer to the Irish Derby or Pritzel banging the picture for the Ledger, and I don't think there was any of that this year.
No, it was the worst Ribblesdale I've ever seen in my lifetime. I went back through the past winners and tried to think of worse, and I couldn't. In terms of Ribblesdale quality, I thought that was absolutely dire. It's a listed class race at best to me.
You'd never be frightened of taking a maiden winner there, would you?
Not after seeing that. Next year, trainers, if you've got a nice 10 furlong horse, don't be frightened of the Ribblesdale for sure. But just coming on to this, and you made a rant to me the other day. You said, because we're breeding more sprinters, or we're breeding for owners that want a quick return. They want to win the 2-year-old races and they want them to become a 3-year-old tops. The breed is dying out, or seems to be, for the old 4-5-year-olds, the Sadler's Wells.
They've got the stallions at like what I call cheap speed.
Yeah.
And cutting that corner is leaving us very, very late at 1 mile plus. I can only see it getting worse.
You look at our sprinters this year.
Yeah, it's cheap speed they're going for, isn't it? They're not paying premium for the super fast fuckers. They're paying it for these that win 3 on the spin at 2, and half the time have something wrong with them. And that's why our sprinters are shit as well.
It's also a concern. Like, you look at the Britannia every year now, attracts offers from King Kong for our up-and-coming 3-year-olds. Yeah. And obviously, Dividend, we're told, has been sold for $500,000, the 4th horse in the Britannia. Yeah. I have no doubt there'll have been offers for the first 3 that we might not know about yet, and so on and so on. So is that another concern? The 3-year-old potential, your Medicians of this world end up going straight to King Kong because our owners are willing to sort of cash in for the kind of money on offer.
As long as your Medician of this world's still owned by Chaverley Park or Godolphin or somebody that can resist a big offer, you're all right. But let's face facts, if me and you owned one that was going into the Britannia and it finished there, we'd just be sat by the phone for 3 days, wouldn't we?
We'd drive horsebomb. Yeah. We'd drive it to wherever, wouldn't we? Straight wherever it was going.
There's enough lead rain and everything,
We'd be chucking all sorts in Decron feed, man. We'd be chucking everything. Sign on the dotted line. Take the money. So we're worried as a podcast for the breeding side of the game. And this was obviously predicted by many, saying that our stock would become weaker. For example, watering, has that made the sort of our breed a little bit weaker as well? We've got more brittle stock because these horses are used to running on.
Because every single trainer forgets all about the need for safe ground the minute they go anywhere near a Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, obviously lots of trainers have been to America, and the only course I ever walked in America was Gulfstream Park West. And honestly, they called it firm, right? Yeah. I'd have called it concrete.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you put it this way, if you'd have tripped up and fell on your knees, I think you might be looking at a knee op. It were that firm. I would say, I don't know what we've done. I don't know why we've done it. I don't know. We've done it, and we can't change that sort of direction. So coming on to like some of the main plays of the week, really, the main talking points, if you like. Field of Gold. You impressed with him? He's had plenty of racing so far. That's his 4th start of the season. He's the standout, isn't he, of any horse on either side of the waters?
He would be, for me, a genuine top-notch miler.
Yeah.
In an era of not very genuine top-notch milers, because I don't think we've got any others.
No. Coming on to the coronation.
Yeah.
Which was won by an Irish handicapper.
Yeah.
A bit harsh, but you get my sort of drift here.
I was waiting for her dropping back to 6 furlongs. I was going to punch her at 6.
She's got the job done, which is nice to see smaller connections have the day in the sun. Bit unsavoury, I felt, from Basher Watts, who said after the race that the form's been franked with Zarigana. But we thought Zarigana pounced it, didn't we? For sure.
Completely. Came there to swallow it and spat it out, basically.
Yeah.
Which is probably why Basher Watts' horse got as close as it did twice.
If they say, I would imagine they'll drop back to a mile after the French Oaks, but I think if she turns up saying something like a Falmouth or something like that, I think she goes off. If there's any decent miler fillies in there of the older groups, I think she goes off, 50s? She's perfect. It's just absolutely no chance against the elders, I wouldn't have thought. The 3-year-old filly crop are really disappointed, I've got to say. Apart from Lake Victoria, then you're struggling, really, because even the Godolphin winner, and we'll come on to that in a minute, Simon Holden question on that, where he says, with all the pre-festival talk of Amo and Godolphin, was this the festival where Wathnan became a major player in British racing? Well, to talk about Godolphin first, and Amo, if you like, John, Godolphin obviously had the one winner, Rebels Romance.
Yeah.
I was shocked to see the last 3 seasons at Royal Ascot, Charlie Appleby is 1 from 37.
It's not very good, is it?
Yeah, Rebels Romance was the only one. 1 from 37. That is astonishing from a yard of that magnitude that seems to be training horses, yeah.
I will say this, though. There wasn't many of his horses that I wanted to back. And nothing to do with his form. But like even before we started the week, when I'd done my prep, hardly anything from Godolphin and Appleby featured in my notes.
Yeah.
I didn't really expect him to have much of a week, I mean, so it was no biggie to me that he only had one winner.
So, like, coming on to Amo, disappointing week, would you say?
He's clattered the breeze up sales in the spring. You would assume looking for Ascot 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
He clearly hasn't got them. He's paid $2 million for Ghostwriter, who got a huge chunk of it back, finishing third in the Hardwick. Other than that, he's had a fairly flat week, hasn't he? Him and the Sun and the Alex Elliott and the whole kit and caboodle, really. I mean, he's had a rant about how Nick Buck treated him now in that interview, hasn't he?
Has he? Is that what he said? I've not seen it.
He's an angry little chap, isn't he? Some would say well balanced because he's got a chip on both shoulders. I just don't think he can keep going like this.
The investment and return, and I know it's not about that. Well, it is for Coolmore. The investment and return for him must be pretty dire, I would think, at this moment in time.
We've said before, haven't we? You know, when he first burst on the scene, I think we're all unanimous in saying they'll have it off him, and they are, because that's what racing does. Unless you have, you are well established and you're part of a dynasty like Coolmore, or you're a part of a very well established owner breeder program. Newcomers are there to be rinsed, and racing is superb.
No question, Chris. You've got to do your own buying.
Yes.
If you go anywhere near a bloodstock agent, they're grabbing you by the ankles and checking you till it all falls out.
Yes. Absolutely. I hang you upside down until there's nothing left coming out of your pockets. He's not the first, he won't be the last, but they are there to be picked clean, aren't they? These very wealthy people that come into the sport.
Wathnan, though, they're a bit different to Amo in that they're, I believe, a group of Middle Eastern investors seem to be getting it more right at the moment, if you know what I mean. Yes, they've chucked her through darts, but
they're recruiting good people as advisors.
Yeah,
they're nice and low key. They're not putting anybody's backs up. They're not sort of enthralled to anybody, are they? They're just paddling along. They're doing the prep before the sales. In a lot of cases, they're buying proven performers that they've seen on the track, so they'll be getting advice from a good race raider or something. and it's easier than buying unraced stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, Kia bought that Ghost Rider on the advice of his 15-year-old son, £2 million.
Yeah, I mean,
Come on.
precisely. It's bonkers. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know how serious he is if you're relying on your 15-year-old son to advise you to spend £2 million. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? But I think John's right. You know, buying this unraced stuff, it's hit and hope. But I would say that practically anybody, and I mean anyone, could have achieved the same level of return that his advisors have done for him today, because it's been lamentable, isn't it? I mean, literally, you give it to someone in the street and say, "Here's some catalogues, just stick a pin in them. Here's your budget." You'd struggle to do worse, wouldn't you?
I'll be honest, and the thing is, I do feel a bit sorry for Keir at times, because I do feel that the media seem to always.
He's coming to the sport with a good heart, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I agree with
don't.
that.
I don't dislike the fella at all. I think he, in interviews and stuff, he's mostly cordial.
If he suffers from anything, like, it's the thing that a lot of people who come into a lot of money very quickly suffer from, and that's the fact that a huge wallet makes you feel you're a lot more expert in certain subjects than you actually are.
Precisely. Precisely that. And racing has an incredible ability to make really shrewd, hard-nosed businessmen make really stupid decisions when there's horse flesh involved. It's extraordinary. In any other endeavor, a business endeavor that these people are involved in, you know, they count every penny, they make smart decisions, and they're ruthless. As soon as there's a bloodstock agent involved, it's go and do what you think. Oh yeah, here's 15, you know, here's 10 million, here's 5 million, and they turn to goo, don't they? That's the problem. And racing is quite unique in that.
The best 50,000 quid Kia could spend would be to get a good race rider on his books.
Yep.
To discourage purchases, to point out why they shouldn't buy horses.
Yeah,
we've actually got one. Our young Jack would be certainly up for that, in terms of if Kia ever, or any of Kia's people listen to this podcast, give Jack Veach a try. He
doesn't need the fucking money. Christ, giving him money always goes to money. Fuck it now.
This makes sense here. You don't feel under pressure. You've already won lottery or whatever. You're just doing this to get it right. Adrenaline to get it right.
Give it to me. He'll be tucked up even quicker. He'll be gone. He'll be gone in 3 fucking months. They'll all be running in 0 to 55s round Wolverhampton. Yeah.
Put on some more questions then regarding this. So Simon Olden, Wathnan, the way it's going, are going to be the main operators soon to rival Coolmore. I predict. I think Godolphin just aren't the outfit they were for whatever reason. Michael Tom says, has Appleby been training them to win the early races, John, rather than having them ready for sort of midsummer?
Well, to a certain extent, if you target horses at Ascot, you got to work back from your target races. You would get the impression with some of these that they've worked back from like the Guineas rating and started them very early on the all-weather and things. You see, trainers are creatures of habit as well. What he did last year with the Guineas winner, he sought to do again with that, what was it called, Opera something or other. He had another one, didn't he, this year, that won 3 on the spin on the all-weather and then was going to win the Guineas. That was like the equivalent of throwing 15 sevens on the spin, wasn't it? You know, and to try and repeat that, you know, pointless exercise. Wasn't going to happen.
Just change the subject slightly, going back to Field of Gold. You own Field of Gold, John. you can't say sell it, right? Where do you run next? Is it Eclipse or International?
Sussex Stakes.
Ooh, we have a difference of opinion, Jeffrey.
Sussex Stakes, beat the older milers, and then go to York.
Okay. Interesting plan. That'll be 6th race at York, if that's the case. Would you be not worried that when does this horse go over the top, do you think? Probably in Slopper. Yeah.
You don't even mile in me fucking 6 mile in 6 months.
I know, but you know what? It's just not the pattern these days, is it? See, I'm talking like trainers are now pulling them out on good to firm ground. You know, it's too quick. It's too quick for him. Fat Punt's been on. He says about Fat Punt.
Right.
You don't have to adjust your volumes, folks, or anything like that. That's his Twitter handle. her Twitter handle, we don't know. Good old anonymous social media world. So yes, selective watering. Is this causing problems? Is Ascot essentially becoming a bit of a kip?
Nah,
No, yeah,
Chucky's a fucking idiot. The last 2 days, like,
yeah,
when the fast raiding was stands rail,
yeah.
the only one that went stands rail was the fucking walking and runner up.
Holcomb Bay, that one.
Yeah. Everything else ignored the stands rail.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the clerk of the course's fault. He's given the ratings out. The previous results showed full well the stands rail were faster, and everything subsequent to that shows that the jockeys are fucking idiots.
I get that view. I found it difficult to work it out, really. The last day, it just seemed like a big front-running bias, or a decent front-running bias.
I had a fancy for Corker in the walking.
Yeah.
Because I thought the likes of Holcomb Bay would give him a beautiful lead up the stands rail.
Mm-hmm.
Corker's finished middle to far side.
Yeah.
And he's finished 7th. If he's kept straight, he's in the frame at least. You know, and that's not pocket talk. I had a round of drinks on him. You know what I mean? You know what's coming with these fucking idiots.
But they seemed to make their mind up, didn't they, to avoid that stands rail? No one wanted that stands rail at all.
Well, one did, and he was totally vindicated. That's the whole thing, you know. I mean, and nobody is willing to point out that the absolute arseholes were not coming up the rail. They were going where the ground was worst. The stick leading was telling them, you know, what more can you do? Rather, you know, unless you put lanes out for them to run in. You know, they're absolute idiots.
Rob's been on, he says, are you marking up any performances from bad draws this week? Was there a bad draw in terms of, I don't know.
Not enough to cost you a race, I don't.
Well, centre track were winning, far side were winning, stand side did all right in the Britannia. That's where the place to be was, in the Britannia. And the far side was perfectly close up also in the Britannia. So people look for things possibly aren't there.
I think the only thing that maybe say is the usual 4 horse draws in the Gilt of Red ended up shit. But you know, they were any price. So what style would you have to put them in and give them a chance?
Well, that's it. If they're big prices, then it don't really...
To know it's a write-off, you've got to go right through the last 20 years of it, haven't you? You know, and then you say, well, fucking hell, you open the straw boxes, but you know, this year told you now, really.
Will Ho's been on, and he said one unplaced horse this week from Royal Ascot to follow. You had a fantastic tipping week, as we all have, to be fair, on the tipping shows. We did even better on the Patreon show on the Thursday. So if you want to subscribe, you know what to do. It's £9 plus VAT for the month. So if you want to take your bet into the next level and enjoy some articles and shows that you don't get in the public domain, then it's the thing for you. So one unplaced source, John, please.
We do all the Patreon shows naked, by the way.
Like Luke Harvey in a paddling pool.
Yeah, for those that are that way inclined.
There's not many that way inclined.
They tend to be sadomasochists.
Yeah, I think you can be pretty certain on that.
One horse to take away from Ascot. This is dead easy for me, and it's out of the Gilt of Edinburgh handicap, and that is the Ruggierian trained French Joke.
Yeah.
Who I thought looked absolutely fantastic before that race. I think they've done now over the last 12 months. I've been very critical of what's going on at Varians. I think they have done a tremendous job with this horse. He was like a different horse pre-race. He was calm. Physically, he's strength and muscled up. He's broader across his front. He looks an absolute beast, and he needed that to wake him up. Next time out, this will be fucking savage.
Send money, boss. He training good. He training good. We got him right, boss.
£50
for me. I send money home. Do it now, boss. He already win. He trained fast. Whoosh, like rocket ship. Yeah.
Superb. Very good, John, actually. Very good synopsis of French Duke. I'm going to give away one that'll piss us both off because, sod it, I'm that kind of guy. I don't think it'll be a massive price anyway. It's the Hampton Court horse, Arabian Force, trained by the shirt. The more I think about it, to you, John, I says we need to save one back here for us. We need to save one back here for us, but I'm not going to, because the thing is, I've seen its entries. It's in the Bet365 Heritage Handicap at Newmarket, and it's in the John Smiths. Whatever Jack backs anti-purse, back it in the other one if he backs it. So Arabian Force, because you can get shirted these days with anti-purse bets. Yes, Arabian Force shaped incredibly well in the Hampton Court. Things just didn't go right for him. Finished off the race really eye-catchingly. And it's one of those, really, where I'd like to think in a handicap, to me, he looks better than a handicapper. Well, I hope that's good enough for you going forwards. 2 to sort of get your teeth stuck into there in probably the next 30 days or so, you would like to think. Going back to French Duke, John, any idea where he goes next?
I would hope the Miss Goodwood.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, it'd be the 1.5 handicap at York.
Yeah.
In a not so ideal world, he'd turn up in the Ava. But I'd still fancy him.
Yeah, good stuff. So there you go, folks. More stuff from John on that. That sort of finishes the sort of like the serious sort of racing questions, and now it all goes downhill, you know, from this point onwards. And we've got tons of questions. Coming on to Rory McAdory, first of all. If you were in charge of Royal Ascot's meeting, what would you change?
My pants.
I'd cut it down to 4 days.
Yeah.
So why don't you think it needs 5?
It doesn't. That's why I cut it down to 4.
Because 4's less than 5, isn't it, John? League's on Excel now, going, he's fucking right, you know.
Fucking hell. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's races there that are padding, isn't there? You know, there's just races that are padding. That Palace of Holyrood's not really of any benefit to anybody apart from the gross profit tax merchants. There's more fillies handicaps than you can shake a stick at. We have a Hampton Court and a Golden Gates that's competing for more or less the same horses. Similarly with the Wolferton and the Duke of Edinburgh. Maybe not so much, but there is that parallel.
Do we need the Queen Alex? We don't, do we?
It's only a tradition thing, isn't it? I mean, it's not there for anything punting wise or.
I think we do need it's a 6 or a 7 furlong 3-year-old handicap. 7 furlong might take away from Britannia, so you probably go 6. But then I know you've got the 5 furlong.
The 5 would have to go.
Yeah, I'd rather have a 6 3-year-old handicap, wouldn't you?
Everybody with any sense would.
That's where I go. But coming on to a serious point now, what I would change, Ascot bet, for one, that'd get canned. I know it makes Ascot plenty of money, obviously. So they're basically advertising prices, and we had a punter this week that we got paid out less than Whirlpool, which they're advertising sort of Whirlpool, if you know what I mean. So what Ascot bet are, they've got like bookmaker-style pitches, and you just get an SP. So a punter has no idea what odds they're going to get, none whatsoever. But they're dressed in bookmaker style, of course, and obviously for youngsters coming into the game, this is the problem. There's no education. So, like, listening to Michael Cannon's video blog to finish Ascot, he actually won on the week. Obviously, some bookies have probably might have done it in. He didn't win much, but he was saying for all the hard toil and stuff, is it worth it when he's having to take money out of the exchange? So he stood on the pitch, can't take a bean. He's clicking to lay what he doesn't like on an exchange. He says, so what's point in being there? When you get like 2 ladies dressed in Gucci dresses and Louis Vuitton and handbags and all this, and they want 3 £1 wins with a platinum card.
This is how ITV is introducing people to racing, though, isn't it?
You know, and then
you see they could get rid of the royal moniker, couldn't they? They could call it the Workers' Cooperative Ascot Meeting, and instead of the carriages, you could have Motability scooters, couldn't you? Paid for by, personal independence payments, and you could have Greg's as a sponsor rather than all champagne companies. I reckon that'd be good, that.
Greg's
the Motability scooter. Who's in the front Motability scooter on the first day? Yeah. I think that'd be better than the royal carriages, I reckon. Yeah.
What made me laugh the whole week with AK racing and how much more accessible it is for your normal working people.
The job seekers allowance stakes, that would be good, wouldn't it? You could have that and like pay them fucking 80 quid for the winner or something, which is what they get. So I reckon that'd be much more down to earth.
I'd get rid of Ascot bet anyway. That is terrible value for punters, like Chester bet.
That is a rip-off. But if Ascot's marketing team are listening to this, you can give me a call. I've got loads of ideas like that. Really good.
This was a reply to Michael Cannon today from somebody that listens to the show. You know, Len, National Hunt Len?
Yes, National Hunt Len. Yeah. Very nice, very good essay you wrote on that. Very good, I thought. Very well written.
This is tremendous. Len, I'll not read it all time-wise, but he's 26. I tell you now, I wouldn't be telling the majority of my work colleagues in the office that I bet on the side. And some months make extra cash and some months I lose. They'd probably refer me to HR to get help. That's what's happened to gambling. Ultimately, it's become a dirty word and topic. And he goes, I know tipping lines existed back in my dad's days and you get tips in the papers, etc. However, you now go on social media, it's plastered with tipsters that are all ultimately useless, clueless grifters who are stealing a living from the most gullible. An example of this, targeting 18 to 24-year-olds, comes across a certain tipster, booming winners, saying he's won 20k and he lives in Dubai and hires OnlyFans models to shag nightly. And if you pay £50 a month, of course, the younger ones think, well, if I just pay £50 a month, I can have 500 quid on something. Yeah, it's easy money. It's terrible. It's a terrible.
I thought that was probably the most eloquent explanation of the current state of affairs that I've read in a while. I thought it was really well explained, because you're right. There's all this stuff. The marketing team has done a brilliant job, etc., etc. Yeah, and I don't know what the crowd numbers were, but lots of people didn't even know it was on, did they? Because it doesn't occupy that place in the national consciousness that it used to do. But we're regarding sort of social media tipsters, etc. The problem is that people need to understand that 99.999% of these people are liars on TikTok and social media. And I know personally, through somebody I know, there is nothing to do with sport, but there's a guy that's a very, very successful TikToker that that sort of advertises kind of day trading, and he put a post up, I think about 10 days ago. I'm not going to name him, but 10 days ago, saying that he was just in Dubai. He had his last trade, he had it spark off, and when he finished recording, I know for an absolute fact, he went to answer his bail conditions at a local police station in the UK. So, but he kind of filmed it and showed it with a bit of sort of green screen. Yeah, I'm on the beach. He was fucking answering his bail. So there you go. So all these people, they're all liars. There's nothing genuine about them, and steer well clear. Really should.
There are some good ones out there.
Yeah, not 99.9%. I mean, but as a whole, the overwhelming majority. Perhaps I've gone to your school of maths, and sort of 99% is probably less than 80%, isn't it, Lee? But so my sense is that the overwhelming majority are bad faith actors. Right, and you only a fool doesn't judge a book by its cover. You look at these guys and you think there is no way you are winning this kind of money. There's absolutely no way on God's earth that these people are successful, and just steer well clear of them. But I can understand Len's point that young people who are potless see this, this is an entree into easy money. Look, there's someone that looks like me, my age. He's living the life that I want to lead, even though he probably isn't. It's all nonsense. I'll send them £50, £100 a month, etc., etc. Just steer well clear. It's rubbish.
Going on about attendances this week, Ascot, they were actually up on last year, which is interesting. But the story was from the bookmakers that weren't in the best pitches. Betting action was incredibly poor.
Because betting's never promoted, is it? I can't remember. No. It hasn't been promoted for years. And if you're on the back of a track record of year on year emphasising everything except the betting, people no longer regard meetings like that as an opportunity to have a bet. It's a day out, and it's good for champagne sellers and food vendors, but not for bookmakers. And I think it's a terrible state of affairs, to be honest.
Pretty much what we've been saying for a while. Obviously, it's nice to hear from people like Len, Michael Cannon and stuff doing the video blogs just to get the boots on the ground. Same as Simon Knott, people like that sort of report stuff from the ring. It's good to hear. I don't think the game's still in great shape, despite maybe like attracting to a younger audience. An example there of two ladies coming up to a joint, and it clearly says £10 minimum. on his joint, which is a bit high, I think. That should be £5. But anyway, to ask for 3 £1 bets. It's education. These youngsters don't even know what each way is. Oh, what's each way? What if I want to back this horse each way, but what does it mean? Stupid things like that. They don't even know that. It's incredible. The level of education betting education these guys get is horrendous. Tony Earnshaw, time for Simon Holt to call it a day. Messed up the Wokingham and failed to spot the Fav. Never so brave, finishing up the stands rail on Wednesday. Big meetings need the best callers. Well, I can remember like many great commentators of the past. Jim McGrath, when he first came over from Oz, was fantastic. Really great caller. Get your hairs on the back of your neck. He was very, very good. Then in the latter years, I think they just lose it in terms of it's a difficult job. It's a really hard skill to do. Graham Goode was the same. In his Graham Goode and his pomp. Yeah, this is a good horse.
Yeah. The original golf club board, GG wasn't he? That's what he morphed into.
Yeah.
And then he lost it, and then I can remember GG at the back of his career.
Peter O'Sullivan was fucking terrible for 20 years. 20 years. Terrible.
Yes,
I know.
I agree with that.
I mean, everybody says that Red Rum commentary in 77 was iconic, right? At the start of the second circuit, he dropped John Hanmer right in the shit when he didn't know what to say when Bone Docker refused. And anybody can go back and check that on YouTube. And he absolutely fell apart in that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was hugely overrated.
You'd say from any commentator. Absolute rubbish.
Yeah, hugely overrated. But again, he was a very big fish in a relatively small pond at that time, wasn't he? I mean, there wasn't that many other people to sort of go up against. But yeah,
he knew which asses to lick, didn't he?
Oh my God, yeah, fucking a master of that. Yeah, a bit of a bluffer, I thought, but not one of mine for sure.
No.
So that's callers for you. I think when you get older, it is what it is. Barry Davies was the legendary of the old football arena, but eventually they start to lose it a little bit, and that's what it is. But he had some legendary calls back in the day. We come on to carriage form, cart form, wagon form. Right now, Tom Livermore, people's been on this. They've seen your purse, I think. Bar stewards have been charged with the task of filling the carriages for the royal procession. What combinations would you look for maximum aggravation and fisticuffs? Seethingness between the four parties. And it's got to include a royal. You could just have, say, King Charles in there. And then you could have Ed at HMRC at Bamford.
That would definitely cause a trouble, wouldn't it? I thought a carriage that excluded a royal presence would be the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, former Rail Union leader Mick Lynch.
Yes, good one, that.
And Danny Minogue and Sharon Osbourne.
Well, that's an interesting combo, that is. Crikey.
Be interesting to see how paired off to fight the other two.
Yeah.
I'm reading into John's fantasies here.
I know, it's quite slightly disturbing, isn't it? It's
when Danny Minogue's mentioned, that's it.
It's tricky when you're looking for aggravation, isn't it? Piers Morgan's a pretty good shout because he'd aggravate any fucker. You know, you get him in a carriage. Yeah. There was that shouty little bastard off JB News that's on with Andrew Pearce. She has a row in an empty house. Yeah. Patrick Christie's, he'd be another one. You'd have a bit of a go at. Angry Anderson as well, Leigh Anderson. He'd be great.
Oh, yes.
Right, carriage. I mean, he'd be looking for royal asses to kiss, and normal people would be looking to chuck him out the fucking carriage. There's tremendous potential for conflict, isn't there, in them carriages? I think that's why they have to keep it very strictly to their own class.
Yes.
No, you never see an interloper, would you? You know, I mean, you've got to...
No. Like some Arabs,
but
don't they? Like
in the main, the Arab human rights records are absolutely terrible. There's beheadings and tying people to radiators.
Purchases of weapons, etc. That's good for the economy.
They're hardly a great people, are they? You know, I mean... They're like you to have done something nasty to the Oaks, you know, I mean, Lloyd Webber's secured his seat for the next 25 years by flying from America to take 30 quid a week off raspberries. I mean, they absolutely fucking love him for that, don't they?
Yeah.
Fucking despicable, moon-faced cunt.
John, you actually said to me the other day, if you put the Bamfords, Webbers in the same carriage, right? He said you sleep like a baby, having blown it sky high.
I would, yeah, I fucking would. That really fucking sound text that.
A few questions on carriage. Sam the cat wants us to assemble. I don't think we'd do 4 carriages. We could definitely do 1 carriage. It doesn't necessarily have to be royals, like celebrities in the past, basically, to have a carriage to their own and wave at everyone. Which 4 celebrities would you like to see in there?
Watch for the carriages coming down and wave flags and cheer the people in the carriages are fucking idiots.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
so I think they deserve the cheesiest load of shit you could possibly cram into a carriage. So I'd be looking to the likes of Lionel Blair and fucking Mike Laspel, Bill Oddie, people like that.
Fucking hell, what has he ever done to you, Mike Laspel?
I'd just cram the fucking carriage with utter mediocrity. Sloella Benjamin.
Oh yes, now she's fucking awful. Yeah, dreadful.
You know, Humpty from Playskull. Humpty, put fucking Humpty in there.
Yeah, if I could, we could have rainbow. Couldn't you have a rainbow carriage? Yeah. Jeffrey, fucking Bungle, George, and it'd be fantastic.
Fucking shite. And see if they're still wearing the flags, these fucking morons.
Well, you could have something like Joseph Kony, who's the Ugandan warlord who founded the Lord's Resistance Army, which sort of pioneered the use of child soldiers in combat. I reckon if you put him in, people would still wave, wouldn't they? They'd still be giving him a wave.
They wouldn't know who he was. No one reads these days.
The Lord's Resistance Army. Yeah, that's have a carriage of them.
You know, are these carriages gone down the tracks? How many people have even bothered to research who they are, their past?
I bet over the years, I bet Pinochet are in one and put money on that.
You could have Reinhard Heydrich, couldn't you? They wouldn't know, would they? You know, if you're going back in time, people still be waving.
Who was that fucking Chris that was in charge of the Duvalier secret police?
Oh, but it's oh crikey! I'll look it up now. We don't want to let people hanging. Yeah, you could have him, couldn't you? The old Tonton Macoute, what they were called, weren't they? They were. You could have a carriage of the Tonton Macoute. Yeah, all up fucking cool as shit, but I'll chop your arms off. Yeah. Hang on, we'll have them.
Yeah. And then we waving the flags like fuck, wouldn't they? You know.
Yeah, of course they would. Yeah. Killed him, boss. Yeah.
Fucking amputations for anybody that argues with them.
Yeah, man.
You know.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, that's the problem. But we do like a pageant though in this country, don't we? That's the problem. We do love a pageant.
We do. So thank you for your carriage questions, and you, Neil Watson, as well. Same sort of thing, really. Brian Buddle, and he says, did Harvey bring his own budgie smugglers, or did he have to carry on for the rest of the afternoon without any trolleys under his whistle and flute? This was. I found this bit weird.
Did you? Well, explain for those that didn't see it.
They're down at the fucking start. I can't remember at race, but it's obviously on straight course. There's this house opposite the start. This is the optics, right? So ITV, obviously, roving cameras down there. Where's Luke? Luke? Is he at the start looking at the horses and talking about the horses' chances? No. It's in the fucking paddling pool, right? Obviously, with permission of the homeowner, obviously. He's in a paddling pool with 4 kids. Presumably of the owner's kids or whoever's kids, bare chested, and then but that's not the weird bit, right? The weird bit was, he's got his top hat on. Francesca says, "I hope you've got your swimming trunks."
Fucking right, yeah. I mean, fucking hope so. He stands up. See, no, I've left him in the car.
Not like 4 kids here, messing around in a pool, and I'm fucking stood in here like, starkers.
You'd have to think. You'd have to wonder how that was discussed at the editorial meeting.
Apparently it wasn't.
What the justification for that was.
Coached it up between the camera.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, camera crew and himself, apparently, because he reckoned Ed Chamberlain had vetoed it.
No shit. Yeah, shit. That was peculiar.
Some of the stuff this week was just so far detached from reality you wouldn't believe. I mean, that Charlotte Hawkins was commentating when the old brats went down to the parade ring. She couldn't stop herself pointing out the enormity of the effort required to do this, because she's been here every day. Fucking hell.
What a trooper. What a Marine,
She's
what a
ridden
trooper.
down course in a fucking carriage to
Ah,
sit in an air-conditioned
yeah.
box, flunkies acting on your every
Eating-
whim, eating some of the finest food on the planet.
Food known to
Because they're not
humanity.
the
Yeah,
living shit
exactly.
out of her. You know?
Yeah,
Fucking
yeah.
gee.
Extraordinary. The sacrifices that our royal family make for us. God bless them all. They do a wonderful job. Hip hip, etc.
So, what did the bar steward, Paul Smith being on, make of the interview with Pips? Viscount Royston at the moment, that's his title, on ITV Race.
I should be going up to the big house for my present. My forelog is well and truly tugged. Actually, I couldn't. I mean, I know what John's going to say. I'm going to give him the floor because I know he's going to have a rant. I thought it was a bit tongue in cheek what he was saying. Now, I probably misread the runes here, but I thought he was so ludicrous. I thought he was taking the piss. I really did. I really didn't take him seriously. So I probably got that wrong. So tell me why I'm wrong.
There's a lot of these fuckers that are really like that. That's why you're wrong. I mean, obviously, we like to kid ourselves that we live in a democracy or meritocracy, as you might call it. Obviously, we don't. I mean, Pips is the perfect illustration of the birth canal bingo that makes him a future lawmaker in this country. As a child of Lord Hardwicke, prohibits any children I might sire from taking up a seat. You know, any of my kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I'd like to be Lord Hardwicke. Well, you will fuck off because you haven't been down the right birth canal. Unless you spend most of the adult life arse-licking the establishment, then otherwise it's that the whim of those born to rule us if commoners get a gong or a look-in or a seat at the top table.
But what power does he wield?
Well, he'll be a lawmaker in the House of Lords, won't he? Because every bill gets a second reading in the House of Lords.
Well, okay. I'm not disagreeing, but I don't know. I mean, he was certainly an odd character, wasn't he? I mean, he was sort of saying that.
How old was he? He did look very old. He looked like Pip the Younger, didn't he?
You know, like, he did Pip the Younger. Yeah, quite.
He looked barely out of fucking university, to be honest. Interesting indeed, because Chapman's done a few interviews this week, John. Anyone that you want to touch on? Like what Chapman did this week?
Not especially, but the Pip interview did make me wonder. I think ITV are ripe for an Ant Deck style piss take where if you got hold of one of the team and said, look, I've got Mr. Royston Dervish Whatnot here, who was standing to inherit 160 billion in a few years' time, and he's going to put it all into racing.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought somebody in just dressed up and got him to act foggy as fuck. I think you could get away with a monumental piss take because I genuinely think they'd be all over an interview with somebody like that.
Yeah. Chris Gartner recommends that Exham, Sedgefield, Catterick, Holt, Northern tracks in summer should install hot tubs after the Luke Harvey segment for Billy Bunters. You know, like in the Caribbean where you're going to watch England playing in Barbados, and there's that.
You'd have to ban children out of them, otherwise it'd be right for lawsuit. Everybody would be saying, they'd be taking the kids up there with a view to making a few quid, wouldn't they?
Oh my God. The optics there, not good. Right, so talking about ITV, we've had a lot of comments on ITV this week, so we'll go through them. Roscoe says, should ITV Racing rebrand itself as Carry On Racing? Utter shy out of touch, done down tosh. Dan's been on, said ITV Racing deserves some credit this week. I think they got the balance right. I really enjoyed Chapman's interview with Illinois Connections about asking the huge drift. Very helpful. Oxford One, just want to give ITV coverage a positive mention. From what I see of it, it was pretty good. Wathnan, Coolmore and Willie had decent meetings, as did the Gosdens. Didn't see much of Slim, though. Jim, regarding ITV Racing, I was amazed for Ascot they have a foreign jumps jockey analysing Group 1 flat races. What was Mick Fitz there for? I don't get that at all. Like, they were going to post. He's trying to comment on, like, top-class flat horses, and it's probably one for the sectionals boys. You'll have to ask them. So what's the point of him? In a winter time at Adoc for the Betfair Chase, and fine. Cheltenham Festival. Why are they wheeling him out? They've done it at the Dante and things like that. Why? He's clueless on the flat. Jim says, who would the bar stewards pick to do race analysis for ITV? Who would really tell it as it is?
Joey Deacon. I'd have him.
You'll offend people like last week. We had a few negative comments on the old nicknames from the...
Yeah, well, they can fuck off, can't they?
Absolutely. Once you've told them that, they can go and do it again.
And keep fucking off.
Who would I pick?
Ed the Talking Horse. Oh, I thought that was your impression.
Yeah. It was Nevender's old klaxon on bus.
Yeah, well, fucking, yeah.
I think it's difficult because them that work in the media, and I'm not being rude, generally are working in the media for a reason.
Yeah.
They're not punting for a living. So who would I use to analyse? I don't know, really. I mean, much as I dislike him, because I think he's a cantankerous old fucker. Jim McGraw, I think the old time form man of back in the day, comes across quite well with his opinion. Somebody like that. Again, the old Channel 4 team probably do a better job than today's in terms of opinion, but we know it's not about that now, is it? Like in terms of the current ITV staffing. So yeah, we have to go what we're doing. As to regards to the ITV coverage then, chaps, what are we thinking of it as a whole this week?
7 out of 10. So,
a
solid 7 out of 10 for me.
I get both sides. It depends who was on for me. Like it could be like
they got an 8.5 from me, but they overdid the Silpan coverage of the Royal Procession. But I think the overall racing coverage was good, and as technical as it could be for a mainstream TV show. Obviously, you're going to get it more technical on racing TV, so Sky Sports Racing, whatever. But I thought they went as deep into it as you would want from a terrestrial television show. There wasn't a lot to fault there. I'd have maybe used Adele more on the paddock than Francesca, but that's just a personal opinion. I think it's based on fact, though, because I think Adele's a better paddock judge than Francesca.
About to say that's the one thing I'd have changed, yeah. So that's interesting that some of you are normally critical of ITV racing want to give positives, and we also feel the same. That I thought it was a fair effort, in all fairness, what you're getting dealt with. Helen Sheridan, trainers, jockeys, owners, presenters, etc. If they went without socks, who would have the smallest toe jam?
Oh, what the fuck? What's wrong with these people?
What is toe jam? I don't know what.
I don't know. I think it's sort
producer.
Of, people don't wash properly or something.
Before it comes to that, the socks thing is like, are you for socks at Ascot? Is
not for the horses. No, I'm anti that. No.
Producer's just done it now. Right, so toe jam.
Go on then. What is it?
It's like Joe Rogan. This you have to get some research done while you're live on show.
Yeah, some intern. We need an intern.
Toe jam is a non-medical term for the build-up of debris between the toes, consisting of dead skin cells, sweat, socks lint, and dirt.
Oh God! My agent won't let me allow me to answer that question. I'm not paid enough.
This is great. This is great. Who bit biggest?
It's not in my contract.
No, smelliest, not the small. I said small. It's the smelliest toe jam. Smelliest toe jam.
Even worse.
Imagine you're on them tables where you stand up around them drinking your Pims or your champagne, and you can see some excrement in between big toe and like the fourth major toe.
Please, come on.
And you can feel a bit of a pong and all up. It's like coming up.
What's wrong with you people? This is revolting. We're trained actors. We're reduced to the status of a bum.
I love this question now. I didn't get it at first, but thank you, Helen Sheridan. I love this question.
Horrible. No, Helen, she's gone right down in my estimation, honestly.
John, you've no idea what to say on this one. Has she got you stumped?
Hey!
First, this one, wasn't it?
I think probably the Highclere team of Harry Herbert and John Warren, they look the type that if the flunkies hands around to do between the toes, there could be a bit of build up there.
Oh, well, that's a good answer.
And a great question, Ellen Sheridan, because you had us stumped on them.
Terrible question.
Great question.
Awful question.
Not having Ellen Sheridan slagged on this.
No, not slagging. She said terrible, and you can do better, Helen. You can do a lot better than that.
Ellen, tell her to fuck off.
You fuck off. Yeah. you bloody fuck off. Yeah.
Back to more sane questions now. Well, it doesn't get any more sane. It never gets sane. Paul Fitzgerald, great listener is Paul. Why are so many in the UK gambling industry compelled to show us what they had for their dinner on Twitter? Your analysis. I know this is the weird thing, right?
What's this about?
I think it's like people that either do I mean, but we actually do food vlogs on our show, don't we? But
Yeah, for sure.
and cooking and cooking ideas, but we don't show
We never
them.
show the films to show that we're winning, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's this hub of people. They're probably on the cusp whether they're winning or losing. And to reassure relatives that they're getting enough to eat, they actually post pictures just before they're devouring a bowl of stew or something, you know?
Chris, do you think it's part of like social engagement nowadays and it boosts views?
Absolutely.
Do you reckon that's what it is?
Absolutely, yeah. It's part of a dread term, but a sort of content strategy. A minimum number of posts, and sort of give people an insight into that person's lives to turn them into more 3-dimensional characters for the purposes of promoting whatever product or services they're doing. So yeah, I think it's it started on Facebook years ago. People posting pictures of what they're having for breakfast and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it's a bit desperate, really, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough. I see it, like you say, as marketing engagement kind of of thing. People do that. Look at my steak.
Yes, yeah. Look how well I'm doing. Yeah,
or it could be the other way around, where you post like a really shitty looking breakfast and then get that.
But no one does though, do they? That's the thing. I think the point that the correspondent's making is it's always a sumptuous steak and a beautiful glass of champagne. It's never fucking Buckfast tonic wine, is it? Or and a can of fucking Netto beans, is it?
No.
Which you eat out of the tin with a spoon. Yeah, so
no, absolutely not. Right, moving on. So Grumpy Punter's been on. He's grumpier than us. In light of Megan Wacker, Jordan's disqualification from the amateur race at York last weekend, should the BHA have a steward on whack counter duty at each meeting with a clicker and just DQ on the day? Would take no longer than a normal inquiry. Yes, I back the second. Thoughts on that?
Absolutely not. Unless you want a riot on course. This rule is only getting through peaceably because nobody's getting disqualified on the day. If you chuck a winner out on course on the day when punters are there wanting to get paid out, you will have a riot on your hands. And the true ridiculousness of that rule will be illustrated perfectly because you'll need the army, never mind the police.
I agree with that, actually.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Okay, when you bumper, if people can
everybody trucks off home, everybody's got paid. Do what you want with the result after that.
I agree.
You'll do that day event, carnage, and I mean carnage. You'll get a racecourse fucking wrecked, raced to the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
PT's been asked about nicknames for new listeners. We will post that on a free to view Patreon link. So you've got an idea on who's what nickname, etc., etc. Jim's been on. I visited lovely Ripon on Thursday. There was a power cut affecting bars. Billy Mountain shop. But worse, a poor lady got stuck in the lift for an hour and had to be removed by the fire brigade at the end.
Oh, it's awful. Poor old cow, yeah.
I told you I laugh at things like this. I just laugh.
I know, you're quite sick, really, aren't you?
yeah. Jim wants to know, what's the worst clusterfuck, not betting related, that has happened to a bar at the track?
Nothing at the track. I did, however, got locked out of my house many years ago, and being the responsible parent that I actually got my 3-year-old daughter to get a stepladder, climb up onto the roof and climb in through the bedroom and let me in.
Yeah.
And that's something I have never admitted. So social services, too late, boys. She's over 18.
Yeah, my worst experience didn't come at a racetrack. It came at Heathrow Airport. I was on a flight to Philadelphia. I went for a shit.
Okay, all your stories involve you having a shit. There's a pattern here, isn't there?
You can see the pattern here, right? I'm having a good. I left my phone in shitter, and because it was last call for flight, I was running to get my flight, and obviously I'd left my phone at Heathrow in shitter, and thankfully it wasn't stolen. But I was in America a week without no phone. So that was a pain in the arse. I did buy an American one, which sort of solves certain stuff. But like when all your betting stuff's on there and you're shitting yourself because if it fall into the wrong hands. I was really worried at the time, thinking, oh my God, if this, fortunately it was in Heathrow, lost property when I got back. Yeah, a massive plus. I was very lucky. So there you go. That was my worst. John, yours?
I locked my car keys in my car at Redco once, and then got arrested while I was breaking into it.
That's good. That's a good one.
I fucking pissed myself at that. absolutely hard owl, like with laughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually arrested you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was furious.
Oh, how much would we need to see that, listeners? Yeah, I'd pay plenty to see that. Plenty. If we can have that on video, that goes viral. If you know. Anyway, Steve B. Whatever you think of his content, what's your opinion on blogger continuously telling his followers to have bets on short price favourites and including them in doubles? He's either got a bottomless betting bank or someone he's bankrolling him. Is this not irresponsible gambling?
Of course it is, but if you are in working with bookmakers, you know it is in the bookmakers' best interest to encourage people to have bets. So yeah, he's doing, I guess, what his employers are asking him to do. So I don't think it's controversial in that sense. You know, that's what he's employed to do. I imagine.
What he's doing is only going to benefit gross profits tax. What we are trying to do with like everything we do with race, we're trying to improve our followers' betting by 4 or 5%. We're trying to save racing and have an orthodox funding method for it. And that's why everything we do is met with stone walls and bullshit, because the game knows which method it wants now. It wants the 365 method of millions of people losing £2 a day, and anybody else is superfluous to requirements.
Yeah,
that's why I think Keith's a genius, because he taps up all young influencing talent that have large followings, knowing full well that the wagons will come through and eventually bet through him, because that's who is.
It's incredibly astute. As I agree, it's an incredibly astute strategy. All of those influencers are very personable. They're very presentable. They speak well. They engender enthusiasm. They kind of sell the product as an exciting endeavor. So I agree with you. It's a very astute strategy. That very astute.
Indeed. Davis has been on, and he said, going on from Jess's question last week about old insults, what words do you remember from your youth that are no longer in use? I'm going to go cleaner this week. So, because obviously, some took offence to older words, shall we say, where we laughed at.
Well, the point is, they are of their time. So, people can get offended about anything. But the question was, insults, not compliments from days gone by. Yeah. So I don't understand why people take
one offense. You don't hear now, and I like it, because I recently said it to my daughter when she was making a decision on which agent to sign for. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't hear much these days. I tend not to hear it anyway. I don't hear it.
It's an idiom. But in terms of insult, who remembers Flid?
We're doing it again. Oh, we're going to get shot.
Well, no, it's an insult, isn't it? It's just fucking Flid. Yeah. Yeah.
Thalidomide, basically.
Yet smallest pub in the world is the Thalidomide Arms.
Fucking
You have got a fountain of knowledge. You have absolutely got. I had no idea. I learn something every show. This is why it's entertaining.
Yeah, Thalidomide Arms, or tiny arms, didn't they? Because of that awful drug. Yeah, that awful drug that they foisted on people. So you've just I've double offended people now. So there we are. Never
John,
mind.
any phrases from the past that you don't hear now?
I have nothing to add to this.
Yeah.
No, you fucking serve it up. Yeah.
Let's put Chris in bin on this one. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
2 questions to go. It's been a fantastic show. So thank you very much. And it's your show. This is it. This is the thing. This is why we do it. 500th show coming up soon, folks. Don't forget to tune in for that, because we're producing something that I think you will love. And we started it for mental health, and this will make your tummy tickle. And that's coming up in July. So that'll be our 500th show. So please look out for that. Ronnie Omelette, did you have an eerie relative who scared you when you was a child?
Yes.
I'll start. Leave John till last. I had an Uncle Cyril. Right?
Cyril Smith.
Uncle Cyril. And I'm not kidding.
No.
Every time my nan and granddad used to take me around to see Uncle Cyril, I had to sit on his knee.
Oh. Did he bounce up and down?
Yes.
Did he bounce?
Yes.
Yeah, you were 30 years older at the time, weren't you? That's the problem.
Yeah, I was slamming bitty then.
Yeah, fucking yeah. Go on, yeah. Ooh.
I look back to these days, and the more I think about it, it was a little bit. That is, very weird. Every time, I always went for me. Come and sit on my knee, and then bounce his knee up and down. You like that, don't you? I know, Uncle Cyril. Yeah, that was mine, Chris.
Uncle Cyril. I don't know. Everyone, I think, can relate to the fact that if you're going to see a really elderly relative, like your sort of great gran or somebody like that, where they'd give you like £1 or something or 50p, you'd have to you were forced to give them a kiss. And you remember that kiss you had to give was that sort of hermetically sealed kiss where your lips would kind of pucker in so you didn't have any kind of spit contact with some old girl's mouth. I always found that really unsettling to be forced to kiss some old woman on the lips. So you kind of, draw your lips in and sort of give her a peck and you think, oh, it tasted like fucking of golden Virginia and boiled sweets. It's horrible.
And Murray mints.
Yeah, lockets and Murray mints and fucking tobacco and it's horrible. But yeah, I always remember that. And you used to have a look at like chin hairs about an inch long, weren't they? Sort of,
growing out of a mole.
Yeah, growing out of a mole. Yeah, it was like a pelican thing, fucking sort of gizzard underneath her chin. It was horrible, like a goiter. It's fucking awful.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah,
John,
I remember that.
John,
anyway.
I'm looking forward to this one.
My uncle Bob married a German woman called Margaret.
Margaret.
Or Margaret.
My cousin's called Margaret, so yeah, maybe it's the same woman.
And she was absolutely hideous.
Yep.
You know the old queen in Snow White.
Yeah.
She was getting on that sort of level. And she was absolutely horrible. I used to dread going down there because, as you said, you used to have to give him a kiss.
You used to dread going down there?
Yeah.
Where were you fucking kissing her?
I wasn't going down there, but
I see. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah. There should have been a comma there somewhere, shouldn't there?
Yeah, they lived in Knaresborough, so we were going down there. And honest to God, you had to kiss on arrival and departure. She had two tremendous vices. One was this German spirit that she drank that used to come in unmarked bottles. And it was just clear. It was just like clear sort of ethanol stuff.
Schnapps. Was it like schnapps or something like that?
It was far too unpleasant to be anything that you could buy over the counter, I thought.
Right.
And she had a penchant for licorice as well. She was always eating licorice. She maintained that it was the best thing for you health-wise. And as a result, when it was the kiss hello, kiss goodbye, she'd give you the big beaming smile as she was coming in for the kiss. And the teeth looked like a fucking special album cover.
Christ.
Kissing licorice. And she was an absolutely vile woman, honestly. Typical humorless German. And honest to God, any visits there just knocked your head in. It really did.
Christ almighty.
Horrendous.
Yeah, apologise to our German listeners there.
Jawohl, yes.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Baden. Steve Mustard has been on. A final question. So, following from last week's show, worst sidekick, Scrappy Doo, Jar Jar Binks, Thady Gosden. Who would be your worst?
Crikey, that's a very good question.
The Bear, BJ and the Bear.
Crikey, that's a good one, yeah. That was shit.
Well, the fucking dialogue's going to be crap, isn't it? Because one of them's a fucking monkey.
Yeah.
That's going to be absolutely chronic. And
shit.
That show ran for about 3 series, didn't it? Just
it
a
did.
bloke with a truck and a monkey that rode around with him that he almost certainly sexually abused.
Quite possibly. Like Michael Jackson, wasn't it? Yeah, bubbles. Yeah. I'm forever blowing bubbles, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, gold. Yeah, I think you're going to have to struggle to find a worse one than that, to be honest. That was pretty awful, wasn't it?
Desperate sidekick, really. I mean, at least Clyde in the Any Which Way But Loose films had a good right hook on him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he did, but I thought Clint Eastwood was the sidekick in that. I thought Clyde was fucking excellent on that, wasn't he? He was good, the old orangutan.
The bear was shit. And I mean, why the hell did they call him the bear as well? I mean, that was fucking stupid for starters.
Yeah, that's crap. Barney Rubble used to annoy me as well in the Flintstones. I didn't think he was particularly good.
Well, I thought he was shit, but he was hope for everybody else because
he was, he was honest and straightforward.
All of us would fuck Betty Rubble.
True, yeah.
He was the fitter of the two women.
She was, yeah. No, I couldn't confer.
totally shit. And I never got this. You know, in Lord of the Rings, have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
The two fucking really tiny fucking hobbit things that weren't with Frodo.
Yeah.
Merry and Pippin.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Wankers, no, they're
absolutely
fucking
useless. Couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. And they were shit. Utterly shit. You know, you wouldn't want them fighting fucking big orcs, would you?
No, you wouldn't. But they did say that the hobbits used to have like 9 dinners a day, so I'm quite attracted to that lifestyle. You know, it's like we'll be our second supper, third breakfast. They eat regularly, so I think that's quite good. And they chill out in a lovely part of the world, don't they? And just eat like pigs all day.
Like they're always in boozer and all.
Yeah.
I mean, what's not to like? Plough your fields and get in
A big
boozer.
feed, no work,
Yeah.
doing fuck
Yeah.
all. Yeah, that'd do me, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll end it right there.
man.
We hope you all had a good Royal Ascot. We did. And if you didn't, never mind. There'll be something along for you, I'm sure, in the coming weeks ahead. But that's all from me, John and Chris. For now, we are back, as usual, next week, talking more rubbish. Bye for now.